Whoa. Let's fix the camera a little bit. That's better. Can you guys hear me? Lisa, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Cool. I never know with this microphone because there's a thing at the bottom that says that it can hear me, but it never shows that it can hear me. So we'll turn that off because that's just going to keep going. We'll wait till a few more people get in here, and then you like my little stacking of boxes to block the light? Hey, Ken, thanks, man. Yeah, I think, let me check real quick, but I think we need 2 or 3 more to physically hit 20K. Yeah, see, we're at like 19,997 or something like that. Of course, it won't focus on it, but yeah, 19,997. So we need 3 more subs, and we'll be there. Theodore, what's up, my man? It's going good. How are you? Actually, you know what? That's a good question. How is everybody? Is everybody staying mentally stable with all this stuff going on? As I know, Lisa, for one, you work in the medical field, so that's got to be a little nutty. I mean, it's pretty much business as usual over here because I'm a bit of a hermit anyway, so I don't really talk to a million people. So this is kind of like awesome for me because there's not a whole ton of people around. Yeah, very true. Not a whole lot of us were mentally stable before all this began. Business has actually been pretty good. I got lucky in the fact that everybody got their tax returns and then got locked in their houses. So, what better time to drop your vehicle off and have it repaired than when you're stuck in the house, can't go anywhere anyway? So, we've been doing Jeep after Jeep after Jeep and Toyotas and F-150s and Silverados and all kinds of stuff. So, a lot of frame repair going on. See how many bored people there are tonight. See how many we can get in the stream. We got 15 so far, which is usually pretty good for this channel. Move you guys over a little bit. But yeah, I figured it's a quiet Saturday night, just about to hit 20,000 subs. Ah, see now, a year ago when I did a live stream, somebody asked me what my dream car was, and I didn't have an answer for them because there's so many. What's up, Nick? And I think now my ultimate dream car would have to be a Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. That is by far one of my favorite cars. What's going on? But yeah, that would be my dream car at the moment. Just something about a 700 and change horsepower naturally aspirated V12 from Ferrari. How can you beat that? So, what have you all been up to as of late? You guys all essential employees, or are you sitting around the house doing nothing? Oh, Ken, I'd like to see the results of that because I'm starting to get a little crazy here myself. Yeah, it seems that there's a lot of us, especially the people that are involved in the car industry. We all have some sort of tech or manufacturing jobs, and everybody's still working anyway. I mean, I know I nothing has really changed for me, with the exception of maybe taking a little bit longer to get parts and stuff like that. But nothing really changes for the most part. Can you guys hear that? Somebody's out there ripping the hell out of a car. What's up, Samurai Doge? Yeah, yeah, it's super loud. It's like not even in this parking lot either. It's somewhere else, and there's no doors open. So yeah, loud as hell. Oh, nice, sweet. Yeah, I think time at home has given a lot of people a lot of time to get into some cool stuff. All right, so let's see where we're at if we hit the mark yet. Oh, now we're two away from 20,000. You know what, Samurai? Here's the funny thing about that. So I offered that on several occasions, and I don't know if it's um, being proud or I honestly don't know what it is because there's actually a few people that I've offered to give lessons to that are posting stuff that is less than favorable that they're catching a lot of shit for. And I figured, being a nice guy, you know what? Let me show you some tips and tricks so that you kind of don't keep catching crap on the internet about it. And yeah, most of them don't take me up on the offer. It's usually oh, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. So, okay, that's cool. Caesar, what's up, brother? The pup is doing good. He's doing really good. He he's bored. I think he's more bored than any of us are, which is kind of funny. See if I can find a picture of him. There he is. He's bored. The truck content. Um, I don't know. The truck is kind of good. It's your typical '02 Silverado. I fixed all the little garbage that was wrong with it, and I don't know that I want to take it any further because I'm a Cummins guy at heart, and I'd like to get another Cummins truck, or I might come and swap this one. I don't know. I can't. Chevy trucks to me are just tools. There's nothing that I enjoy about them, so I use it just as a tool. So I'm not really super interested in kind of doing anything to it unless I can find, a cheap Cummins swap, and then I'll knock that out. No, I was not in that Malibu. Thanks, man. Yeah, the welding content is, I kind of did that first TIG welding video and it was very well received. I mean, it got over 1,000 views in the first couple of days, which is kind of unusual for my channel. So figured, you know what, we'll continue with it. Yeah, and come and swap is definitely an option. I think it would make it a little bit more interesting, but then, you're looking at putting a lot of time and money into something because we're talking, 5 grand for an engine, probably another 4 or 5 thousand for all the parts that need to go along with it, the fuel pumps, the adapter plates, the torque converter, keeping the 4L80. I'm not going to be able to make a lot of power, so I'd have to put something else behind it. And it just, it might be smarter to either sell the Silverado and buy a Cummins Dodge, or trade the Silverado for something, a little bit older, maybe, who knows. Thanks, man. I'm glad you started welding. Yeah. No, it's funny, the Datsun, that's a long story. That car's been around me for probably 5 or 6 years now. And it started off with very lofty plans and a very big budget, and then the budget kind of disappeared and we got a good majority of what we were basically paid to do done, and now it's just a matter of finding the time to do any kind of work on it whatsoever. And the car doesn't belong to me, it belongs to a friend of mine. um, so we're just kind of in that that give and take, where if I have some free time, I'll tinker with it here and there because that's really all there is budget for. And we're not going to go full blown on this thing. Like, initially it was supposed to be a couple of months worth of a project, and first things first is I was only ever supposed to do the floors in it. And then I ended up putting the engine in it, doing the floors, making the trans mount, making the engine mounts, doing all that stuff. So kind of something that, just snowballed after I had touched it. But at some point, hopefully we'll get it, in the mix of things. And yeah, there are a ton of people that want to learn how to weld and just don't know where to get started. And that's why, I kind of wanted to do a welding series where it wasn't necessarily welding for dummies, but it was more introductory to where, what, here's how every little aspect of this works. Now, the videos are long and they're full of information, but those are things that everybody needs to know. We're in central Connecticut, Wallingford, Connecticut, actually. And my day is great. My day is, I filmed a video earlier, so if you guys haven't checked that out, go check it out. It's another TIG welding video. Did a few things here and there. Just been kind of a lazy Saturday. Finished up most of the projects that I have going on, so kind of took a little bit of a break. And as far as the quarantine stuff, no problem whatsoever. None at all. Lisa, I'll go to Lock City this year. I plan on going to a bunch of events just to kind of get away from the shop, so I'll be there a bunch. Worst vehicle to work on ever? That's a good question. So, there's been a lot of really horrible vehicles that I've worked on. Um, and when they get to a point where they're unsanitary and nasty, I refuse to work on them. So I don't touch those things until people clean them up. But as far as worst vehicle mechanically to work on, probably an Audi A6 with the 2.7 twin turbo. I'm going to try to make it to Adam's open house again. I went last year and it was amazing. So I'm going to try to do it again this year. It was actually a lot of fun. Can you weld decent sized steel with a TIG, like car structural stuff? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anything that you can weld with a MIG or a stick, you can do with a TIG. Whether or not it's feasible and smart is another aspect of things. I can weld half-inch thick material with my TIG welder, or better for that matter. But sometimes it's not feasible to TIG weld something where, MIG welding would take half the time. Samurai, yeah, you know what? It's funny. I really like Chris Rudnick. He's actually a really good kid. He's, aside from what it looks like in his videos, he's very intelligent, very smart, very nice. He's got a huge heart, and it was always great working with him and talking with him and stuff like that. And when I went to Adam's open house in December, it was awesome to be able to reconnect with him. His girlfriend Courtney is amazing. She's just another amazing person, but they are very, very good people. So it'll be cool to head down to Florida again at some point this year and meet up with them. Yeah, you know what? See, that's the thing about Chris is always going to break things, because it's not that he's an idiot, and it's not that he's stupid or not intelligent or whatever, but he's doing things based on what someone with very little money would throw together and drive themselves. So if anything, it's kind of cool to watch, because a lot of these YouTubers are doing big dollar builds, and they're spending tons and tons of money, and don't get me wrong, Chris does it too, but he's also got that point with like the Ricer Civic, the Ricer Miata, where he's doing stuff on a budget that most people can afford, and also inadvertently showing you the disasters that can happen when you don't spend enough money on certain parts. But that's just what he is. And that part about his videos are enjoyable. I mean, I'm 40 something years old, and I still love watching his videos. Yeah, and I think that's KCT. That's an interesting thing that you brought up, in the fact that you know Rudnick is who he is, and if he did change in his videos, or if he grew up as everybody keeps telling him to do, wouldn't be the same. His content would not be the same. Hey, JB, what's up, man? Been a long time since we did a live. Long time. But I figure, you know what? Everybody's stuck in their damn houses. So why not make it interesting? Oh, dude, thank you so much, man. That's probably what I'll use that for, too. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, Lisa, we do everything. I mean, in the winter months, we're fixing snow blowers. In the summer months, we're doing lawnmowers. I mean, you name it. Whatever I have time for, I do. Business is going good, dude. Hasn't really changed much. Some of my general maintenance stuff isn't coming around as often, but the fabrication stuff and the frame repair stuff is huge right now. So I just got done talking today with a gentleman from Virginia, and he's going to be shipping his Jeep up from Virginia for me to do the frame on it. So that'll be pretty cool. We have one in here right now, as a matter of fact, that's from Jersey. Drove it up from Jersey to drop it off. Yeah, I'm going to keep the welding series up for sure. That's going to be something that's not going to go away. I'm going to try to do a video every Saturday until we get into the advanced TIG section. 'Cause right now we're doing a whole basic series of starting from actually what TIG welding is all about, to purchasing your machine, to setting up the torch, to setting up the machine. The next episode is going to be basically lighting up on your first ever piece of metal and setting the machine up so that you can do all that. So it's going to start little by little and go from there. Oh, Rusty Jeep. You messaged me you said you were right around the corner from me, right? or right next door to me or something like that. Oh, JB, thanks. I'll get her one too. Jeep frames rust because of one critical manufacturing flaw, and that was that the frame is completely flat in the center, and then over both axles they go up. Well, there's holes in the side of the frame, and stuff gets into the frame, but they never put any drain holes in the bottom of it. So the water and the salt and everything in the Northeast kind of sits in the frame and just completely rots them out. So it's crazy. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you know what? For what you're doing with that Jeep and all the bodywork and stuff, the 140E would be perfect. When it gets to like frame stuff, it's a little bit thicker material, and I'll be honest with you, with my Miller 211, I'm even pushing that trying to get these frames welded up. So, if you can get a 200 amp machine or even a 250 amp machine, if you plan on doing heavier stuff like the frames like I do, then you're going to need it, because I actually need to. What I need to do is I need to sell my Miller 211 and buy a bigger MIG welder, because they're just, the one I have is almost not enough, and it's literally cranked all the way up, and I'm pushing duty cycle every time I use it. So you know what? There's not any real guidelines on material sizes for what you're doing. Um, when you're making custom parts, you kind of just have to take into account the stresses that they're going to be under, what kind of length you have. I mean, obviously, if you've got a part that's under 100 pounds of stress and it's an inch long, it doesn't have to be much. But if it's 10 inches long, it has to be huge. So there's really no guidelines. You just kind of need to use what you feel is strong enough for the project that you're working on. Yeah, I do. I used to do a ton of stuff with Logan, and I need to get back into it again. I haven't been there in forever to see Mike. I think maybe 3 or 4 months ago, but things in my specific business shift so quickly. I could be making 100 custom motor mount sets one day, and then the next day it's all frame repair, and then for 6 months straight it's nothing but frame repair. So it's really weird. But Logan always hooks us up too. They're awesome. They're extremely awesome people to deal with. And yeah, I don't know what MIG welder I want to go with. I don't know if I want another Miller, if I want to try Everlast, if I want to go, those are the two that I've used, and those are the two that I'm very comfortable with. So I don't know. I might go Miller again. I might go Everlast. It all depends. But we've been having fun with the Jeep stuff lately. There's been so many of them coming in and out. So, guys, obviously, I'm reading all the questions. If you have any questions for me, fire away, because I'm here. I'm not doing anything. My first car was a 1981 Ford Escort, canary yellow Ford Escort. I never actually drove it on the street because I bought it when I was like 13 years old. But I shouldn't say that. I kind of drove it on the street. My father had taught me how to drive very, very young. So I had no problem driving a manual. And yeah, the motorcycle comes out every now and then. I'm looking to probably get something a little different this year, though. As I'm getting older and my back is starting to bother me more, and being hunched over on a sport bike I still enjoy it very much, but I can't ride long distance, and I really want to do longer distance stuff. And no, I don't have any experience with spray MIG at all. Yeah, overbuilding parts is, you know, it's like you said, it's way better than underbuilding stuff. So if you're putting accidental strength into something, it's really not a big deal unless you're building something that has a weight restriction, which most of us aren't doing anyway, so not a huge deal. You know what? If you don't think that you'll do any aluminum, then save the money and just do a DC TIG. But if you want that option, there are so many welders out there now that are relatively inexpensive that do AC/DC, and it might be good just to have the functionality. But if you don't think you're ever going to do aluminum, then by all means save the money because you really don't need it. JB, what are you looking to weld with it? Let's start there, and then I can kind of make your recommendation for you. Ooh, AC/DC. That's a good question. The Everlast stuff, maybe the 185 DV. I think that's a dual voltage. It is actually dual voltage DV. Duh. Um, you could probably get away with that, but I think it's only good to about 120 or 150 amps on 110 volt. So yeah, for that, for thin stuff, it's fine, totally fine. And Samurai, no, he does not still come around. But yeah, anything in the DV section of Everlast is pretty good. They'll get the job done. I wish those guys would sponsor me. It'd be sick if Everlast sponsored me. Their new MT275 Lightning is insane. I want that machine so bad. Danny, I've built roll cages once or twice. Not something that I particularly enjoy because I suck at it. To be truthfully honest with you, I don't know what the hell my problem is with bending tube, but I am terrible with it. So I did it for my Jeep and I did it for a couple of other friends of mine, and I don't. I'm sure if I practice and I, worked harder at it, I could probably get it better, but I am terrible at it, so I don't even bother. Any future builds for myself? I don't know. Um, it's tough for me because my entire shop is dedicated to customer stuff. I don't have any room for myself, which I built that way purposely. Um, so doing a project for myself is difficult, but I think my next project is actually going to be getting my E39 540 back running again. It needs all timing components replaced and everything. So I think that's going to be my next big project, is tearing that thing down and making it right. We're also going to do a complete black interior swap on it and a few other odds and ends. So that'll be coming hopefully by spring, maybe summer, depends. Um, Everlast accessories aren't the greatest in the world. They've gotten a lot better over the years, but truth be told, the flow meter that I got with my Everlast is actually better than the one that I got with my Miller Diversion when I had it. So, I don't know. Matt, thanks, man. Yeah, the 20K is pretty sick. I wonder if we're actually at that number yet. Let's see. We were 2 away, and we're still 2 away. 19,998 is where we're at. We need 2 more people to click the subscribe button, and then we're good. What do you think of Nisanda? That car, the amount of work that him and Brian are putting into that car is amazing. It's coming out really, really good. And anytime anybody can completely jack up a Honda and do something cool with it, I love it. So for him, that car is going to be amazing with the full 240 SX chassis in it. I mean, it's going to be a neat car, and I've done a ton of stuff for him as well, some small stuff, just trying to get things situated on it. And I'm sure we'll be building the exhaust for it and all that other stuff. So definitely a very cool build. Ken, are you looking to do stuff like all the Clayton stuff, the Clayton long arm stuff, setups, and all that other stuff? Because if that's the case, then you're fine. You could totally do that in a 2-car garage. That's not a big deal at all. I mean, obviously, you'd want to make sure that you had decent ventilation so you don't smoke yourself out. But other than that, you'll be fine. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, no problem. Everlast is very, very cool. And all gas, man, those guys, you know what? I was using Hokan, and Hokan was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I actually went up to All Gas in Hartford and visited them. The entire crew was amazing. Such nice people. They gave me a tour of the place. I mean, they're an amazing group of guys, and I love working with them. I call them up, and the next day my bottles are delivered. Everything is golden, and I can't say enough good things about All Gas. I do run a TIG cooler, JB. I run a full-blown water cooler setup on my 255 EXT, but the only reason I did that was because I was doing a ton of aluminum, and I still do a ton of aluminum, and I'm upwards of 200, 210, 250 amps. And in order to do that with an air-cooled torch, you're talking, like a big 26 torch that gets hot as hell and you have to stop. So I went the water cooler route. But you'd be fine for what you're doing with like an air-cooled 17. That'll get you all the way up to I think 180 amps or so. You'll be totally fine with that. Yeah, Ken, that stuff's fine. 2-car garage is no problem. I mean, I started out doing crap in my mother's driveway years and years ago. So, and I'm going to apologize in advance because my heat is about to come on, and it literally is right there. So, might get a little bit loud for a couple of minutes. But yeah, you can do that stuff out of anywhere, you know. Oh, JB, no, I don't still have the Ducati. I actually traded the Ducati for an '08 CBR 1000. Ken, it depends on how, and I apologize if I'm yelling, but I'm talking over the heater. Ken, it depends on how much you plan on doing. If you're doing axle trusses all the time, then yeah, you're going to want a 220 volt outlet and you're going to want a machine that does a minimum of 200 amps so that you can burn into the axle tubes. And plus, those trusses are usually like quarter-inch box steel, so they're quarter-inch wall. They're super thick. You're going to need the amperage to punch through that. I don't know. You know what? I'd like to try new things, and truthfully, as far as motorsports go, like drifting, drag racing, all that other stuff, I truly enjoy building the stuff more than I do driving it. I like driving my own stuff, but when it comes to like, drifting and stuff like that, I'm sure I would enjoy it, but I'm not necessarily going to go build a drift car and get out there and do it. I just, one, I don't have the time. Two, I don't really have the interest in being a driver myself, but I do love building this stuff. And you're welcome. That's kind of the goal. Like, there's a couple of channels on YouTube that I watch constantly that are very dedicated to trying to close the skills gap in this country. And I think that's something that's huge, because you know what? There's a ton of welding jobs out there. There's a ton of machining jobs out there. There's a ton of fabrication type stuff, manufacturing. All of that stuff in this country has been completely just destroyed by the younger generations who want to make a paycheck being YouTube stars, or don't want to lift a finger, or live in their parents' house until they're 30 years old, or whatever it is. But there's not necessarily a skills gap as there is an educational gap, being that the educational system forces you towards a degree that usually doesn't mean anything when you get out of school, when in all reality you could be making 30 or 40 bucks right out of school as a welder, as a pipe fitter, as a fabricator, as a manufacturing company, or a CNC operator, or anything like that. Yeah, yeah, I will for sure. But yeah, so you know what I mean. Trying to make videos and share videos that are kind of educating when it comes to a manufacturing standpoint is something I think we all need to get the younger kids and the younger generations into, so that we can kind of build up our manufacturing back in the United States again, because it just, it's kind of disappeared. That's why everything is shipped to China and everything is shipped overseas, because nobody here actually wants to do it. It's not that it's cheaper over there. Oh, it is cheaper over there, but when you've only got, let's just say you have 10,000 machinists in this country, they're going to be expensive because they're very much needed. But if there were 100,000 of them, we could get away with manufacturing cheaper and everybody would still make a good living. So that's part of the goal of making the videos that I do, is to kind of get people interested in the manufacturing aspect of things, and just getting your hands dirty. Yeah, Diego, the Everlast 185 is a great machine. Absolutely great machine. I've had my 255 EXT now for, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, something like that, and it's never given me a single bit of problem. Oh, it's currently on a tank, the UL Crown 3, and I think it's like blueberry custard or something. Pretty good. JB, you're welcome, man. That's what we're trying to do. And you know what? What's ultimately great about that is there's nothing more satisfying than making something with your own two hands. And that was something that my dad taught me years ago, is that when you can literally build something from nothing with your own two hands, it brings such a satisfaction to you that it can conquer whatever, you name it. You know, if you have that ability, then it'll make your life a whole lot easier. Yeah, yeah. The damn green car. I think what I'm going to do is green screen it, put a different car in its place. But the green car is a friend of mine's car. Hopefully, at some point soon, we'll get to working on it, and you guys will see it on the channel. But we're trying. Stick welding, believe it or not, I'm not good at. Um, I haven't tried it in years because when I did try it, I was absolutely terrible. But I need to try it again because my welder will do stick welding. So at some point, I'm going to give it a shot again and see what I can do. I don't really have a use for stick welding, but I can try again, see if I can actually do something with it. Peter, it's a manual 6 speed. Um, I've heard Lincoln welders are pretty good. I used one once. I didn't like it personally, but it's not to say that it's not a good welder because they are good welders, but I don't like them. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The more we can teach the young ones how to use their hands and build stuff, the better off this country is going to be. Yeah, you know what? I think I have some 7018 rods somewhere around here, but I don't remember where I put them. Yeah, TIG welding used to be super costly. I mean, when I first got into it, I bought my Miller Diversion, and that welder was almost $3,000 just for a 185 amp AC/DC TIG. It was ridiculous, but now it's way better, way easier to get into it now because you can get sub $1,000 welders. You know, and even multi-process machines now. I mean, you pay $1,500 and you can get one that does MIG, TIG, and stick. But I'm definitely into teaching anybody that wants to learn. But there are definitely some people out there that don't like to learn. Best undercoating in a can is no undercoating. Don't use that shit. If you're going to use anything, clean the frame properly, clean the metal properly, prime it with a self etching primer, paint it. Do not undercoat anything. It is such a waste. Yeah, you can weld magnesium with the 185 as long as it's an AC/DC machine. Yeah, like I said, the Lincoln stuff. Me personally, I don't like it. I, it's not a poor performer. It does the job, but I just don't like how they're set up. I don't like their settings and everything else. So, um, maybe someday I'll change my mind on it. But I just never liked their machines. I was always a Miller guy, and then now that I got into Everlast, Everlast is they're pretty good. Yeah, undercoating. That's always an age old fight. Is what's the best undercoating and whatever else. But the problem is, if you properly prepare the metal and then shoot the undercoating on it, then you're okay. But there's always a chance because most undercoatings are rubberized. The rubber, if it gets dinged or dented or chipped, will let water in, but it won't let water back out. So it'll actually make things worse. I've had frames that were entirely undercoated that were rotted completely inside, and the only thing left was the undercoating keeping the shape of the frame. It was terrible. So I always just use a really good self-etching primer, either some Rust-Oleum rust-preventing paint on top of that, or something like Pour 15, or anything from Eastwood, like Eastwood's frame coating, stuff like that, because the undercoating just kills everything. You can clear coat if you want, for sure. But yeah, I've had really good luck with the Everlast machines. So anybody that wants to pick one up, I highly suggest it and highly recommend it, because even their customer service was amazing. I thought I had a problem with mine when I first bought it. Turned out to be a bad bottle of argon from Hokon, to which they gave me shit about, saying that there's no way that argon can be bad. But as confirmed by all gas, argon can be bad. But Everlast was awesome. Yeah, fluid film. I use that on everything. Every single thing that I do is fluid filmed. All these rusty cars that I work on, anytime I put them back together, I fluid film all the bolts. I fluid film electrical connectors. I fluid film insides of frames. You name it, I fluid film it. That stuff is incredible. Lanonin, like sheep's wool. My favorite type of car. I don't know. Favorite type as in sedan, 4-door, 2-door, truck, that type, or you want an actual specific vehicle? Okay. That's the whole, would you like ketchup or mustard? Yes. Yes, I would. Um, no, my favorite type of car would probably have to be like the Ferrari line of cars. I like that style, that, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, or even front-engine, rear-wheel drive. Those kind of cars are what I'm really into, and I'm also very into all the BMW stuff. So E39s, E60s. I really like big engine, rear-wheel drive cars. Oscar, yeah, I'd be more than willing to do that. That would be very cool. Yeah, the Optrel is still going strong. MR2s are cool. MR2s are very cool, I have to say. I was introduced to, I think, the first gen MR2 years ago when I was a kid. A friend of mine's mother had one, and I fell in love with that car. Such a cool little car. Danny, you know what? That was something that I struggled with in the beginning when I started welding stuff, and it's a tough one. You kind of have to go based on your speed, your ability, and everything else, and your quality, obviously, because people are going to pay for extremely high quality welds. They'll pay extremely good money, but if your welds are mediocre, then they'll pay mediocre money. If your welds are Amian, people are going to run for the hills and try to shoot you to get their money back. But one of the things that I do is come up with a dollar amount. So, like for instance, when I'm doing tubing, if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, can you weld my intercooler tubing together for me?" I have it all marked out. Then I charge $1 per inch. So on a 3-inch piece of tubing, that's roughly 9.5 inches of weld per joint. So it's like $10 per joint. So if there's 10 joints, there's $100. There you go. Everything's good to go. So dollar an inch is about what I do. But then if it gets into like creating a custom exhaust and fitting the exhaust to the car and doing that, Then it goes from that dollar per inch to a dollar amount per hour. And the dollar amount per hour can be whatever you set it at, depending on the area that you're in. But when I have to do any kind of custom fab work, I swap over from the dollar per inch to an hourly rate. And then, of course, there's also just other small little projects that, $20 here, $40 there, $60 there, whatever it might be. Kind of have to go with the flow on those. BMWs are good. The X5 is sitting in the parking lot, and the 540 is still sleeping. Hopefully that'll get fixed soon. Yay, stimulus checks. All right, let's check the running tally. See if we're at 20K yet. Yay! We are 20,001, which is awesome. So for everybody that's watching this live right now, which seems to be about 16 of you, thank you very much. That's huge for this channel. Absolutely huge. I mean, God, a year ago, we were, I think, at 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 subscribers, somewhere around there. It was very small. We were just trying to get monetized, but yeah, we are just hit 20,000. So hopefully it's going to jump now. It's already starting to. We got to try to get more consistent videos up, though. That's one thing that I've had a hard time with. Yeah, you know what's funny is I looked into an MR2 a couple months back, and I was getting that same problem. It seemed like the MR2 crowd was interesting, to say the least. There's a crowd for every vehicle, and each crew has their own bit of quirks. Excuse me. Yes, sir. Do all kinds of daily repairs. Everything from oil changes to brake jobs to electrical work to anything and everything. General maintenance stuff, you name it. JB, you know what's really weird about the Honda crews? Or the Honda game itself? Half of them are extremely toxic and half of them are amazing. So it's really weird. Like, the drag racing side, I think, of Hondas is very cutthroat and very secretive and very shady to begin with. But I think there's a whole other side of it, like the purists. The Honda purists that own things like NSXs and older Civics and, the all of the Type R vehicles and some of the, the higher end Honda stuff. Those guys all seem to be really cool. Rusty Jeep, you know what? With the frame, the easiest way to go about doing it is to cut exactly halfway up. And when you get your repair panels from Safety Cap, put them up to the frame and make marks of where you should stop cutting. So like when I do them, when I do the full center section with the rear control arm mounts and everything, I cut the frame all the way up to the front lower control arm mount and I leave about a half an inch of material on the bottom. That's it. Just slice it. Then go all the way back to almost the rear spring bucket, mark, and then leave a half an inch there. Then cut half of the frame out completely. Just get rid of it. Because what's going to happen is if you don't cut all of it, when you go to put the repair panel over it, the parts of the bottom of the frame that you left there are going to push that repair down. And when it pushes the repair down, you end up with a gap at the front that you have to fill and a gap at the back that you got to fill. So if you cut that whole section out, everything will push up flush and you'll be able to weld everything. And yeah, KCT, as a matter of fact, Jamie Marsh and I actually shared a shop for almost 4 years. When I had my big shop, he was renting space from me. And so we worked together for almost 4 years. Yeah, it is a small world. Yeah, Jamie and I have been friends for years and years and years. Setup for amps and speakers in the X5. A lot. So the X5 is running all Zapco equipment. It's got two 150.4s running all of the interior speakers, which are all CDT audio. It's got a Zapco 2KD 2000 watt running two Sundown Audio SA8 V2s, which are 8-inch subs in a ported tune box that I built. And then it's got a Kenwood head unit, a Zapco DSP Z8 handling all the control. It's a pretty sick system. And yeah, I've done a few lifted trucks. I actually got started in the fabrication world building rock crawling Jeeps. So, did that for a long time. Oh, boats. Boats and hose. Um, yeah, but I don't advertise that because boats suck to work on. They absolutely suck. Which boat? Scott Simmons' boat? That freaking thing sucked, man. That thing left us stranded so many times. Fluid film, for sure. Fluid film is the best. When you finally get those things apart and you put it back together, fluid film the hell out of it. And what's nice about that stuff is you can literally just soak it down and it'll stay. So, like I said, I do that with every stupid thing that I run into. Because even sometimes the NICs will get washed away by the crap that's on our roads. Yeah, I've built hundreds of Jeep axles. As far as like, regearing them and doing axles and all that other stuff, I've done that a bunch. Right now, the furthest vehicle has been Virginia. Somebody actually towed a vehicle up from Virginia for me to do the frame on, which was pretty sick. And I'm actually talking, excuse me, Rona. I'm actually talking with a guy from Virginia again, who's a little bit further into Virginia. That's going to be sending it up, and he'll be the furthest. I've rebuilt, actually, believe it or not, my BMW 540's got a salvage title. It's a rebuilt title now, but I bought it with a salvage title. So I have done that before, yes. And my eyes look extremely blue. I have not welded Inconel yet because it's too expensive for me to get my hands on and just screw around with. So, but I want to. I want to very badly. But I can't. That's another problem that you run into as a fabricator is it's really tough unless you can get somebody to drop a Lambo off at your shop to get people to pay for titanium and Inconel and all that other stuff. So, that's a tough market to crack. Samurai, I use mostly Matco stuff. However, the ratchets have been letting me down lately. And so I bought a bunch of gear wrench stuff, which is half the cost, and it's been really, really good. But here's an interesting little tidbit. So all of the new Icon tools from Harbor Freight look identical to Snap-on tools. And from what I've heard, one of the ex-engineers from Snap-on now works for Harbor Freight for Icon tools. So it wouldn't be surprising to find out that all of the Icon line of their tools is made kind of mimicking mimicking Snap-on. So I'm interested. I want to go get my hands on a couple of the Icon ratchets and see if they're similar to the Snap-on stuff. Because if you look at the heads of a Snap-on versus an Icon, they are identical. So should be interesting to see. Oh yeah, Rusty Jeep for sure. They you could, I mean, if you get a welder, you can probably do it yourself. It's literally just cutting off the existing spring pads, putting new spring pads on, which they sell a complete conversion kit, and then just, putting a drive shaft on it that meets the flange of the 88. But I want to say that the kit's like $200, and you get all the spring mounts and everything for it. Yeah, I like Subarus. I think they're pretty cool. Yeah, I could do a side by side tool comparison. Could be kind of interesting. But again, the Harbor Freight stuff, it's been getting better and better. I mean, as some of you guys know in my videos, you see a bandsaw that I use. That bandsaw is a Harbor Freight bandsaw, and I beat the ever living balls off of that thing. I mean, I literally cut everything with it: titanium, stainless steel, aluminum. I cut shit that I shouldn't be cutting with it. Um, and I'm still on the original blade. I've had the thing for a year, And I've blown through hundreds of stainless steel cuts with the original blade that was never designed for stainless in the first place. What did you get from Copart? And yeah, JB, I just got the Milwaukee 3H drive about a year ago. And the Milwaukee, actually, I got it because my DeWalt kept burning out and I had to keep sending it back for warranty. And then when they came out with their new line of brushless stuff, DeWalt didn't offer a 3H drive impact. All they offered was the little 1/4 inch impact driver. And so I bought the Milwaukee, and I'm slowly switching over all my stuff to Milwaukee. Oh, very cool. Nice. Yeah, Samurai, I'm not sure where you live, but I know here in Connecticut, the inspection process for a salvage title vehicle that's been rebuilt is a pain in the ass. You've got to have pictures of the rebuild, you have to have receipts of all the parts you put into it. I mean, it's a pain. Yeah, like I said, the Harbor Freight stuff has been exceptional lately. Yeah, smog in California is terrible. Terrible. All right, guys, hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. As my uncle used to say, I had to go talk to a man about a horse. Still don't know what that means to this day, but it's funny. It really depends on the Evo 5 motor. Um, there's definitely some things, if you plan on making a lot of power, you're going to want to go with a much better rod than what's in the motor. But if you plan on keeping the thing around 300 horsepower, 350 horsepower, then there's no sense in really doing a crazy built motor. Well, I mean, it can get outrageous. I mean, you could build the motor to where it costs you 10 grand to put the motor together, or you could just do a mild build piston rod motor, factory head, maybe some valve springs or retainers, maybe a set of cams. You're probably talking, 4 or 5 grand to do something like that. I'm getting hungry. Is anybody else hungry? Young Phil. Thanks, man. Finland. That's awesome. Dude, I love it so much when people are watching from overseas. That's just so cool to me. Being a tech guy who was there at the beginning of the internet boom and everything, and seeing how we can all connect now is so amazing. I don't have any current big projects for myself. I do have my cars. I have my X5. I have my Silverado, my 540. My 540 is going to be getting basic maintenance that's needed to be done for a long time. So that'll be the next project per se. And I'm swapping the interior from dove gray to black. So that'll be interesting. I wish there was Ted. Bring me pizza. Where the hell are you finding pizza? Freaking Napoli closed down, which sucks. Who that is? Someone is here. Hold on a sec, fellas. Someone has infiltrated the shop. DrewTube. What's happening?
You can explain it. This is going to be a fun one for you. I got all heavy jobs, fucking failure.
Oh, dear. Drew, go up and say hi to everybody on the live stream.
Oh, let's go. Oh, you're live right now? Oh, we can do this later if you want.
No worries.
Hello, viewers.
Look at this guy.
What's going on? How many people we got in here?
16 at the moment.
Let's go. I know. I saw you. You went live at 8, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice little chill live stream.
Hell yeah. What's up, Drew? What's up? Let's see, Chief. Big head.
All right, guys. I'll be right back.
So the cable can still slide through, but it's like the cable's like super. It's like the hole I measured it for the cable for the metal piece. That's why it's like 3/8 inch. This was broken already, and I had it welded.
Okay. I am back. Got a little welding job we got to do. Yeah, Wild Drew appears. I got to weld some dirt bike stuff, some aluminum that was attempted by someone else and wasn't really fixed. Now the heat kicked back on. That thing is, you don't realize it. I don't ever pay attention to it until I have to pay attention to it. Then it's all I can pay attention to. Yeah, freaking Napoli. They were doing good, and then the whole takeout game just kind of tanked. So he decided to close up for the time being until things go back to normal, which I hope is soon because I need a Napoli's pizza like bad. Yeah, they have such good food. Yeah, yeah, we got Uber Eats. You have a stuttering problem? I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers. Yep. I used to be in the guns big time, and then I got expensive real quick. So I've only got my two now. I have Rusty Jeep. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. Um, right now, I only have my Kimber Ultra CDP 1911, and I have my Glock 27. It's a fourth gen. Yeah, my 40 cal. I just have those two pistols now. I used to have one point I had like 10 or 11 pistols, but it was a little out of control. So just have those two now. I keep one here, keep one at the house. Hmm. You know, I would probably do if I had to relocate anything. I would just relocate it myself and just fab up what I needed because it's pretty easy. All right, Phil. So here's an interesting story for you. I've been everywhere when it comes to careers, which I encourage all of you to try to find something you truly love. But my love of metalwork started probably when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I watched my father weld a 40-foot long I beam together. He used two 20-foot pieces of massive I beam because we were building a huge garage in our house. I watched him weld those two pieces together, and then we built an entire garage around what he welded, and what he welded was holding up the entire garage. And to me, that was amazing. That one, you could glue metal together with electricity, and two, it could hold up an entire building. So I got super interested in it. And then my dad taught me how to MIG weld when I was probably 10, 11 maybe. He taught me how to MIG weld, and I really enjoyed that. And then I got into telecommunications. And I did that for, uh, Ted, how long did we? Well, Ted, you did that forever, but I did that for 12 years, I think, 12 or 13 years. I did telecommunications, maybe 15 years. And then I got into fire and flood restoration and electronics restoration. And then I said, screw it. And I did all this stuff full time. In 2011, I think, is when I started doing it all full time. But yeah, so it's, I don't know. It's just the being able to, I'm not an artistic person. I can't play music. I can't, you know, roller skate. I'm not a very coordinated artistic person. So to be able to create things from metal and be able to glue it together with electricity, two of my most favorite things in the world, electricity and metal. So it kind of just melded together, literally, and here we are. Yes, I do have my concealed carry. And as far as like training or schooling or anything with metalwork and welding, I have zero, literally nothing. I have never taken one welding class. I've never taken one metalworking class, nothing. I've just learned all this on myself. But it's fun. It keeps me busy and I enjoy it. Well, it definitely took me a lot of practice to get to that point. I mean, I don't know if you guys follow my Instagram, but I posted a picture from a weld I did on a flange from 6 years ago till now. What a huge difference. It's amazing. The AHPs aren't bad. I know Jimmy Oaks has an AHP TIG and it's been pretty decent. And there's a few other guys that use them all the time. And I mean, other than being a dial machine instead of like a digital machine, they're totally fine. Lisa, thank you very much. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, take the leap, man. You know what? If you can scrounge together some extra cash and buy yourself a welder, just start practicing, having fun with it. You know, or even go to school and take some welding classes and get certified. You get your certifications and you start in an industry. I don't know how young or old you are, but if you start in an industry at a young age, the potential is huge when it comes to welding. Oh wow, he's on Guam. That's sick. No, Danny, I appreciate that, man. I really do, but I definitely don't need donations at all. I just enjoy talking to you guys. And pipeline welding, no, I don't know anything about it other than that you do need specific certifications that you will have to go to school for, so that you can learn how to properly perform the tasks needed to get the certification. But it is very lucrative, very lucrative. That's odd that it won't let you do it from Puerto Rico. But yeah, welding is super fun, and that's one of the other things too. Like, if I'm having a bad day or whatever, I'll sit down at my welder and just start practicing and gluing stuff together and having a good time with it. And it's very soothing. And it's nice too. I get so many people that come in and out of the shop all day long, but if I'm under the hood welding, nobody will say a word. Sometimes they'll just walk in, turn around, and walk back out again. And I'm like, yes, it's nice and quiet. Yeah, Sean, for sure. Like I said, there's tons of money to be made when it comes to welding. I mean, there's in the area that I'm in right here, we have several really good fabricators in this general area, and all of us are busy. All of us are constantly making stuff. All of us are constantly, whatever. And the community of welders and fabricators is usually pretty good. Um, Everybody's willing to share information and everything else. So you can make some money, especially if you do aluminum. Aluminum is a big commodity. JB, I'm working. I actually have shirts that I have to get. I was working with one company and they kind of like meh, and then another company was like meh, and then I literally have just forgotten about it. But I have. some shirts I have to get, and I'm going to try to find a better company that's more local that can do um, more shirts. And as we gain more subscribers on the channel, it's easier and easier to work with these companies because a lot of companies will do like drop shipping of t-shirts, but you have to have a decent sized following so that it's a value to them as well. So that's what we're working on. So eventually, yes, we will be selling shirts and stuff. But I do have some pending orders that I have to figure out how I'm going to get out. Somebody bring me a pizza because that's all I want now. I haven't been to a lot of meets or shows. Um, I I don't know how to put this without sounding like a freaking old hermit. But when I go to shows and stuff like that, a lot of times I can't necessarily stomach the culture any longer, or the attitudes, or the recklessness, or any of that stuff. So a lot of it I tend to stay away from when it comes to like meets and such. As far as shows go, I would love to be able to get to more, but usually during show season is when I'm the busiest, so it's tough for me to break away and get to any of these shows or events. Yeah, JB, you can still order from Teespring. If you go on Teespring, I think there's a campaign there. You can still order directly from them. Sean, I do 2% lanthanated, which I think has a light blue tip, but the 2% lanthanated has been amazing for me. Red, red doing aluminum, forget it. Red is good for like mild steel and stuff like that, but because that's just pure tungsten. The 2% lanthanated is really nice stuff. Yeah, for sure, Rusty. Go for Mig on this one. It'll definitely be it'll be what you need, you know. And just a word of advice when you're doing body panels, use an 023 or an 024 wire. Very thin wire, very low amperage, so that you don't buckle all of the. Because I did watch your videos actually, it was kind of interesting, very cool. When you're welding all those body panels in that you cut, just make sure that you're not putting a ton of heat into them and just spot them all the way around until you can, fill in all the everything around it, but let it cool in between. Um, Another word of advice too to try to help some of the distortion that happens from welding sheet metal. I think Harbor Freight sells them, but you can get a copper backing spoon, it's called, and it's literally just a thin piece of copper plate that you stick up behind whatever it is that you're welding, and then you just weld that seam, and it won't stick to the copper, but the copper will also suck the heat out of it so that you don't warp it too much. And as far as ventilation when welding, thanks, man. Appreciate that. How is pizza in Guam? Is it any good? Um, Ventilation, nah, I don't use any ventilation. I'm in a pretty big space and I don't do a lot of hazardous materials. But the one time you will need extreme ventilation is if you're welding anything that is galvanized. If you're welding anything that's galvanized, you better have a forced fresh air system because that shit is nasty. Yeah, a lot of the meets got canceled this year, but hey, you know what? When I was younger, the meets were cool and everything was good and everybody was really respectful. And you always had one or two idiots that ruined it for everybody or got the cops called on them or did burnouts. But now it's everybody. It's just crazy. So I try not to go to them. Yeah, you could definitely do that too. But the Harbor Freight copper spoons were great. Yeah, you know what? The hexachromium is really dangerous if you're not shielding it properly. If you shield it properly with plenty of argon, both inside and out, then you stop the oxidation, which actually causes all of that, and you'll be totally fine. It's kind of cool to have you guys asking all these welding questions. Yeah, I heard that too. That Harbor Freight no longer had them, but you can get them on Amazon and shit like that, and just pick them up. I have tons of little blocks of copper that I got from a friend's grandfather when he passed away. He had a bunch of blocks of copper for some reason, so I just use all those for backing. The super MIG gas. That's a good question. I don't know. I'll have to check. Hold on. I'm not sure what the super MIG gas is. It might have a little bit of helium in it. But I'll check. Gases. Yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't really say on their website. Yeah, JB, I use 332 tungsten. Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's a good place to start. Take all that education that you possibly can. Hmm. Yep, the more education, the better. And then you can take all of the education that you get and mix it together and form your own style. Good MIG and TIG welder to start with. Everlast. Everlast, Everlast, Everlast. Those guys are amazing. Their prices are good. And you really can't go wrong with them. And maybe one of these days, Everlast will see one of my videos and say, hey, we want to give you a brand new welder to test out. That would be amazing. Still trying to figure out what that super MIG gas is. Maybe I'll call them and try to figure out what it is tomorrow. Or tomorrow, Sunday. They're not open. Never mind. Nah, Brian, just some maintenance of some stuff that just some stuff I have to do some maintenance on. 100% argon. God, what do I pay? I want to say I pay like 65 or $75 to fill up a 300 cubic. Yes, I watch pretty much every welding and fabrication video I can get my hands on, just so that I can learn something. Justin in Las Vegas, the fabricator, the fabrication series, I watch him a lot. Jody from weldingtipsandtricks.com, amazing. I love that guy. I've watched his videos from day one when I started TIG welding. He's probably the one that I've watched the most. Chris from Unobtainium Welding in Canada, I watch him constantly. Rampage Fab, I follow pretty closely. Gabe is actually an amazing, amazing welder. So I watch him a lot, and a few others here and there, but I try to get my hands on as many good welders as I can, and I watch what they do so that I can learn more. It's really not affecting my business, thankfully. It's I got very lucky in the fact that number one, I'm essential because I am a automotive service facility, and also a manufacturing facility. So we lucked out on that, and it hasn't really affected business at all, except it shifted it one direction, which is fine. Welding gas is not expensive. It's probably the cheapest part of welding. Oh, nice. Yeah, go get your mixer, dude. Buy yourself a nice Everlast welder. Depending on what you're doing with it, you can really do some cool stuff. All right, so we've been on for over an hour and a half. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys, but I think I need to go get food because I am starving at the moment. And I really appreciate everybody watching my videos and you guys tuning in tonight for the live and everything else. And yeah, one more question. Okay, how long did it actually take to do Jimmy's downpipe for the E36? Between mock up, tacking, and welding, it was about 6 hours total to do that piece. So I use a Purox flow meter. And yeah, you know what? I'm going to start doing this more often. I haven't had time, and doing lives, I'm usually on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's been crazy, but yeah. So if any of you want to contact me for any reason, please feel free to shoot me an email. I look at my email every single day. It's in all of my information. It's jpmorpheus@gmail.com. It's in everything. Shoot me an email if you have questions. I promise you I'll get back to you. And we'll be doing another one of these lives pretty soon. So I hope everybody has a good night. Stay safe. And yeah, try to figure out what day it is because I really don't know what day it is. So have a spectacular night, everybody. And we will see you later.